Hey guys, I'm Cass Brumley from the Canon Collective. With 32.5 megapixels, 30 frames a second raw burst mode, 4K uncropped movie mode, and built-in Wi-Fi, the Canon EOS M6 Mark II is not only an awesome lightweight stills camera, but a great camera for vloggers and videographers alike. Let's dive in and have a look around the camera. For those wanting to just jump in and start shooting straight away, you've got full auto mode on top. You'll notice each time I turn the dial, the camera provides an explanation of what mode we are in. Using the touchscreen, you can even drop down a more detailed explanation. Spinning the dial to FV brings us to flexible priority. This is a really cool mode. What you can actually do using this back dial is switch between different settings on the camera and adjust them individually. Once you've adjusted it, the camera's going to look after the rest of your settings. For example, if I want to just control the AV, I can change this in FV mode and it's going to change the rest of my settings. Likewise, if I want to change my shutter speed. It's a really cool mode because it means I don't have to constantly switch between TV and AV modes on the camera. If we continue to spin the dial around, we move up towards full manual mode, as you would expect, and then this particular camera also has two customized modes, which you can set however you wish. From there, we move around to our movie and recording modes, and then onto our creative filters. Creative filters is a really cool way to get arty with your photos, as it gives you special effects right in camera. From there, we move on to our scene mode. As we switch through scene mode on the back of the camera, you'll notice that you can choose different scene options. This means that you can set the camera up and actually tell the camera exactly what sort of scenario you're shooting in, and the camera will optimize itself to shoot in that particular situation. The AFMF switch on the back of the camera allows us to easily switch between autofocus and manual focus. I like the ergonomics of this switch because it's easy enough to switch between the two of them, but it's also got enough stiffness to it that you're not accidentally going to bump it while you're shooting. The way that I've got this particular camera set up at the moment is with focus peaking in red. This way, I know that when I'm finessing the focus, anything that lights up in bright red is correctly in focus. In the center of that switch is the button that we can set up for back button focusing. It's very simple to do this. All you have to do is hit the Q button on the back of the screen and then press this little button here that looks like a picture of a camera. When we're in here, we go into Customize Buttons. In this menu, we then look for AF On. You want to make sure that this is set to metering and AF Start. Once this is done, I actually want to remove autofocusing from my shutter button. This means that what I can do is make sure that my focusing point is on my subject while I'm holding down the back button, continually focusing, and my front finger is free to shoot as I wish without losing focus. This is a great little camera for traveling. There's a couple of features in camera that we can really utilize to make this the perfect travel camera. The first one is in our main menu, in the yellow section, in menu number 1. And what we want to look for is select folder. Say you're on the trip of a lifetime traveling through Europe. What you can actually do is create a new folder for each country that you visit. That way, when you get home, it's super easy to organize all of your files. Another great feature of this camera, when you connect it up to your smartphone via Wi-Fi, is that you can actually track your location via GPS. This means no more photos trying to figure out where on earth you took them. Another feature that I love to use when traveling is direct transfer. I simply connect my camera up to my smartphone or tablet via the built-in Wi-Fi and transfer my images via the Camera Connect app. One of the things that I love about these mirrorless cameras is the fact that I can have my white balance showing in live view on the back of the camera. When we hit the Q button and then tap on our white balance, I can actually cycle through to the K on the back of the camera. This is Kelvin. As we spin this front dial up and down, you'll notice that the higher that number gets, the warmer the image gets. Now, Kelvin is a measure of temperature. Think of summertime when it's super hot, everything tends to have that yellow tinge to it. So a higher number, hotter temperature, you have a warmer image. On the flip side of that, as we scroll all the way down, we get to a lower number, which is a cooler temperature, and just like winter, everything starts to get that blue tinge on it. It's easy to think of all of these presets as just different preset values of different Kelvin temperatures. If you're outside and it's sunny, click on the sun. If you're inside under fluorescent lighting, you've got an option for that as well. Let's have a look at some of the features in the main menu of this camera. To activate this menu, we simply hit the menu button on the back of the camera. Now, one of the first things that I want to show you is a raw burst mode. First, we want to jump into the raw burst mode option and enable this. This means that we can now be shooting at 30 frames a second. Moving down, you'll see that there's an option for pre-shooting. When this is enabled, what the camera will actually start doing is shooting your burst mode half a second before you actually press down on the shutter. This means no more missing the shot. The next one I'd like to show you is in the red menu, number 5, which is our focus bracketing. Now this one's really cool. What we can do is jump in, enable this function, and then you'll see on the back that we've got number of shots showing. What this particular function will allow you to do is to set the camera up on a tripod or a steady surface and take multiple photos over and over and over again at different focusing lengths. It's great for things like macro photography. Say I'm trying to take a photo of a plate of food. I can actually have the camera set up for however many shots I choose. I can choose my focusing increments, so how far apart the focusing is on the camera, and then I can actually tell the camera to take multiple shots all at different focusing points, and then I can combine that using software to create an image that's completely in focus the whole way through. Moving across into red menu number 6, you'll notice something that says interval timer. This one's really cool. When we enable it, you'll notice that you have some options pop up on the back of the screen. If we hit Info Detail Set, it's giving us some options for interval times. Now what I can actually do is set this camera up to take a photo every 10 seconds, every 3 seconds, every 2 hours if I wish. And I can tell it to do that for however many shots that I want. So at the moment, this particular camera is set up to take a photo every 10 seconds. And say for example, I want to do 98 shots. If I wanted to do more than that, I simply flick it across to 99, and that's going to give me unlimited photos. This is a great feature if you're wanting to do things like stills, time lapses. As I move across to red menu number 7, you'll notice that I have a whole bunch of autofocusing options in here. When I enable touch and drag autofocus, I can actually choose a position on the back of the camera that my nose is not going to touch on the screen. So for myself, I shoot with my right eye, meaning that my nose would touch the left-hand side of the camera. So I personally like to set this up in the top right-hand corner. Now what does this all mean? Basically, when I bring the camera with the viewfinder up to my eye, I can actually drag my thumb around the top right-hand corner of the camera, and I can move my focusing point using my thumb. It's a really quick and easy way to move my focusing point while I'm shooting. In red menu number 8, the first option that we see is focus peaking. This is a feature that I was talking about earlier when we're in the manual focusing mode, where as I finesse the fine focusing on the front of the lens, I can actually see the red moving across the screen as everything comes into focus. The thing that I like about being able to customize this is that I can actually choose individual colors, because red's not always going to work in every single circumstance. I've got the option to choose between red, yellow, and blue. And finally, in red menu number 9, you've got all of your options for your movie recording. This is where you select your recording quality, your frame rates, and your sound recording options. A few simple functions to remember is in yellow menu number 1, of course, we've got format card. Don't forget though, before pressing this, that you've got a backup of your photos stored externally somewhere else. Moving across to yellow menu number 2, you've actually got an option in here for sensor cleaning. Now the camera itself out of the box will be set up to automatically clean the sensor every time you turn the camera on and off. But you'll notice that we've got a clean now option. This is kind of like an inbuilt deep clean for your sensor. We always want to remember, just because this is a mirrorless camera and then you have easy access to the sensor, we never want to touch it. So if you do notice that there's a little speck of dust on your sensor, just give it a quick go with the clean now function. One of the easiest ways to learn how to use a camera is to jump in the menu systems, play around with all of your settings, and have a really good go at it. The great thing about digital cameras is if you mess up all of those settings, you've got the option in yellow menu number 5 to reset the camera. Simply select this option and then jump in basic setting, clear all camera settings. On the back of the camera, when I hit the Q button, you'll notice that I've got AF and a little smiley face. Cool thing about this particular camera that I really love is that you've actually got facial tracking when you're shooting stills. In this mode, not only will the camera search for a face, but using eye detection AF, the camera will automatically search for the eye closest to the camera, locking focus and tracking. I hope you've enjoyed getting to know the Canon EOS M6 Mark II. Check out the Canon Australia website for more details at canon.com.au. If you want to get a hands-on experience with the camera, check out the Canon Collective website at canon.com.au/collective.